Hey guys, still here. Today back with some Wargame, and this is a map that you don't see all that often. This is Tough Jungle. Now Tough Jungle is one of those really open and especially large maps. As you can see, we have Juliet, which does have some towns and some tree lines, but mostly open. India, far more urban areas. Echo, a little bit of both. Tends to make for quite some ATGM death traps with these facilities over here. Hotel can be pushed onto by using infantry across this hill, both ways, and then you end up in Charlie. Gulf tends to be a bit of a weird zone. You can spend hours and hours fighting here, especially if you don't find all the infantry. And then we have pretty much the mirror version of that on the other end. Now something else interesting is that you have a secondary spawn zone, or a secondary, at least land reinforcement route. This is Delta. And we have the similar in Hotel. So both sides have the opportunity to get additional reinforcements if for some reason their main spawn fails. Unfortunately it's only land, so you're not going to be able to call in air assets. Now they are doing a 3v3 conquest, and it's interesting on this map because there's so much terrain to cover. And unlike the normal, let's say more channel-y maps, there does not really seem to be one or two big lanes where you always find the action. The action tends to be all over the map with this game, or sorry, with this specific map with Tough Jungle, making it quite a bit more intense to manage all of your forces. Anyway, we're following Nemesis today, and he's going to be using what I believe to be the US deck. Standard US deck, no specialization there. His ally is using a British general deck, or what might be a NORAD deck. Let's see, these are definitely the British. That's Frenchy Baguette. And where's his other buddy? Patriot, Chaparral, Chimera. Yep, that is definitely NORAD. Now he's going to be heading up the area towards India. He has also taken up the Foxtrot zone, so he's going to have his forces spread out over two zones, which you can more or less fit onto one screen if you want to. It's just, well, you're not going to be seeing that much detail. As for the left, we have Plu84, who's going to be taking up Gulf, Hotel, and attempting to make a move onto Charlie. So that's going to be his goal. Then we have, let's see, here's Frenchy Baguette. He wants to take this compound quickly. And is that the only thing he's going for? It might be. It seems that, where is Frenchy? Frenchy has most of his forces concentrated here. It seems to be going in a direct line towards that compound that he marked. Alright, let's kick this game off. Let's speed it up a little bit, get the deployment done. Here we go. Immediately we're taking airstrike from MiG-912A. This is one of those napalm bombers. Fortunately there's nothing there yet, and you still have plenty of time and routes to avoid it. So, I'd say that the MiG-29 was far more at risk than anything else, especially with the Patriot operating nearby. Now over to the right we have the Hueys, which are quickly deploying some recon infantry here. Followed up by the Humvees, of course, the fast Humvees, not particularly durable, not particularly steerable, as you can see. Mostly there to just quickly make their way over. And the enemy seems to be coming in with a bunch of helicopters, a couple of Mi-2RO and mostly Mi-2 URS. These are the AA version of the Mi-2. Unfortunately for them, there's not really anything to use that AA weaponry on. But Plu84 does have a Chaparral and is making good use of it, already killing off some helicopters and making sure that they can more or less get towards this compound unobstructed. Of course, we don't quite know what these 24As have offloaded, let alone the 24Ds. With a veterancy level like that, you should be getting worried. Over towards the right flank, we have Nemesis, who has not really encountered that much resistance yet. No, he has not encountered that much resistance yet. Also deployed some Delta Force and some Rangers to the right flank, so he really has a skeleton crew on the right flank. Also one Super M60 to assist with Delta Force and Ranger operations, but one aerial unit and the infantry here is dead. Notice how they're not immediately taking up terrain, or at least not just capturing the zones just yet. He's now bringing in a command unit, but mostly they're focusing on getting terrain. And once you have the terrain, you can always get more command units later on. As opposed to getting a command unit now and letting the enemy dig in. Now on the left there does not seem to be a lot of action. We have the Gurkhas who have been safely offloaded from their transports, not fired a single round. And Friendship Baguette at the moment does not really seem to have any sort of resistance. Here's that 912 again, coming potentially for the Royal Marines. And if that's the case, then oh look at that, here we go, one hit. And the Chaparral unfortunately missed the second round. We finally have an engagement for Nemesis. The M1A2 ready to take on anything that comes into the open here. Already took down one transport, and now we have a T-72 M1, which really for the M1A2 is not that big of a deal. Super M60 here helping out, and there we go, there's their tank down. The spotting is being provided by some Rangers, and the transports that we used for the infantry on this end are now moving on to the right to do a bit of passive spotting here, mostly functioning as a roadblock. In the case that anything drives by, they might get detected, and the Humvees themselves are probably not going to last for particularly long. Now Red has already scored 45 points, Blue is just starting to catch up, and all that terrain that they wanted to capture, this compound, they're not quite making their way there. This compound, same deal, they're not quite getting there, at least not as much as they were hoping to. And they do have good control over left flank, over Gulf. Now on the right flank, the enemy does not really seem to be digging in just yet. They keep sending transports around, and judging by the veterancy, we're looking at some really elite units here. These guys may have already transported their infantry elsewhere, but no, actually not quite. They're scrambling for cover, getting offloaded just in time. And of course, they're not getting there easily, as they're immediately taking fire from the tanks. Fortunately, the tanks are now taking HGM fire from the town. And of course, we cannot quite spot there just yet, but the Super M60 is definitely taking the hits and going down. We have another Wilk coming in, as well as some more transports. This guy's taking his sweet time to get into Delta. Delta's not that long of a drive. Super M60 still in position. The M1A2 has taken a hit. Not needing repairs, but hang on. We have issues in the back of our lines. Looks like Mi-24s, which are dropping off infantry. These are assisting gunships. There's another one. And they just lost Kilo. They lost their main spawn zone. Now they still have hotel, but calling in aircraft, not an option. Air assets are offline until they get Kilo back. This must be quite a surprise. They're trying to spawn in AA units ASAP, a couple of 163s. Also calling in another command vehicle. I'd say this is a bit risky. Just going in straight with a command. The chances of that thing surviving are not very good. And apparently, one of those units in the helicopter fleet that just came in from the south was containing a command infantry unit. So we still have issues here, and they can bring in air assets from this side as well as everything else. So holding on to this zone for Red just got a lot easier. So where can we push with the forces that we have? They might be able to do it here to get the Commandosi out of the way. We still have the Saxons, which are scrambling and duking it out with the BTR-70s. So far, not really that much going on. And if Red can keep this up and can keep control of Kilo, they are definitely in a far better position. Salamandra scouting out ahead, trying to find what is coming for that spawn zone. And of course, now that they see all of these AA units, all that they really need to do is call in 1 or 2 tanks, and all of your AA goes down the drain. That command helo, not really going to be welcome just yet. Now there's a Patriot coming to... I'm not really what the intention of the Patriot is, actually. The Patriot's not capable of firing enemy helicopters. It might be there to intercept and just deny the enemy the entirety of their air force. But it's only going to fire 4 missiles and then go out of fuel, or out of ammo. So it's going to be interesting to see what Plu Plu wants to do with that Patriot. Anyway, let's focus on the action. We have the Humvees on the right flank. Looks like they're taking grenade launcher fire from what might be AGS-17s. In the meanwhile, we have the infantry, Rifleman 90, with a couple of Bradleys for support. And look at that, Pensionovci. Super M60 and the M1A2 are trying to push up, trying to get some more terrain, as we really need to get Delta neutralized. Delta seems to be, at the moment, the zone that can most easily be neutralized, and if it is, then they're no longer going to be bleeding off any points, as they are not that likely to get into Kilo, unless they might be able to sneak their command infantry unit into this position. That would at least neutralize the zone for Red, of course, and at least neutralize the ability for them to call in reinforcements. And there we go, they have taken out Delta, and not just Delta. They're making waves all over the map. Charlie and Alpha are no longer controlled by a command vehicle, and as such, Blue Force is suddenly getting +3. So they're still scrambling, but they're definitely making a bit of progress here. And why this guy is all of a sudden not really using his helos, I'm not too sure about. 163 is now trying to kill off the own FOB, making sure that the helicopters cannot use it for resupplying. It's going to take this thing a while to take it out, and unfortunately the Mi-24s are not really too happy about their FOB taking fire. But the Chaparral was able to take both of those out. Here's the Salamandra. Couple of Strops coming in to deal with the longbow. Longbow not really sticking around to wait and see what's going to happen. Unfortunately, there goes the Chaparral. T-64BV hiding out in the woods there. Now, if you look at the big picture, it's really curious, because we have Blue 4 in control of the, let's say, the auxiliary spawns, Hotel and Delta, as well as currently at a +4. Red 4 has both of the main spawn zones, that's Bravo and Kilo, which is not really helping them that much, not in the conquest state of things, because they are bleeding points like crazy. They have a +4 going for Blue 4. And if they don't do anything fast, then they are going to find themselves out of the game very, very quickly. And meanwhile, one of these guys is still pushing. It seems that they're scrambling to keep Blue 4 at bay. And 1 Abrams against the T-64BV is not really a good match. There's another longbow. And we have a Chieftain working on killing off a 2S6, also known as a Tunguska. Chieftain fires, there we go, that's Tunguska down. If I'm missing something that's going on the map, that's because there is so much going on the map. It's hard to keep track of everything. That's why I think that the map is not often played, and that's why I tend to steer clear of it from a commentating point of view. It's just so much stuff. There's so much going on. On the right we have the Super M60s dealing with a couple of targets. And AGGM was going for it, but seemingly lost track of the target. And we still have a small pocket of resistance inside this town. If we can neutralize that, you might be able to make your way to Bravo. Now let's see, his M1A2 is still available and still completely healed up, so ready for the fight. Unfortunately, so are the Motorschützen. And Delta Force was really not expecting that much resistance. And despite the buffs that these guys have received since the game came out, they are not up to snuff against a couple of Motorschützen 90. At least not a duo combination. The Yui might have been able to help out there, but of course that's easy to say after the fact. And wow, Friendship Baguette with one very, very brave Spartan, able to make it all the way into the enemy command zone, and here's the command vehicle, right there. If they can nuke that thing, then that would be very helpful. But of course they don't have any aircraft, nor do they have any long-range artillery. And if they did, they couldn't resupply it, because they have no FOB. The good news is that they have neutralized Kilo. They have a command infantry unit inside this zone, keeping the zone suppressed, putting them at a +5. And as such, Red 4 is only going to be brought back to this one zone over here, Bravo. That's all they have left. So while initially you may have been thinking, what the hell, this game is going to be over inside of 10 minutes, not quite, because Blue just kept fighting. They kept pushing, and they probably realized that if the enemy was strong in their main spawn, then they were weak somewhere else. And that's exactly what they're capitalizing on. A couple of US Marines, as well as a couple of supporting vehicles, another M1A2 and M8 AGS, pushing towards Bravo now, which, as we have seen, is not that heavily defended, so we might be able to rush in there with a bit of resistance. Although the AA department could still be a problem. Wow, they just wiped out all of the Marines. Fortunately, the AA unit nor the tank were anywhere nearby. And of course it wouldn't have hurt the tank that much, but still, it's an M1A2. You don't want to get this thing pinned down so somebody else can kill it off. We still have aircraft coming in from Kilo, as they have neutralized the command infantry section over here. And they're starting to bring in a few more forces. But of course, their main problem is that Conquest Tucker. It just keeps going up and up and up. There's not really that much that they can do at the moment. Because while they over-invested in that initial push, they didn't invest that much in staying power anywhere else. And as such, they're getting rolled on all flanks. Rangers down to the last man, but let's focus on these guys instead. The M8 and the M1A2 have made it to the front line. Almost inside of Bravo. This, by the way, would make a nice little sneaky position for a command infantry unit. Of course, the question is, can we get it there safely? Chaparral coming up, as well as an ACAV, all ready to deal some damage. And especially with the 4 of them, this could be a very potent combo. The ACAV dealing with infantry, the tanks dealing with any ground vehicles, and the Chaparral dealing with anything that might kill the tanks, such as the helicopters that are constantly flying back and forth. He's also bringing in a Kiowa, trying to do additional spawning from the sides. And as they don't really have anything else to fire at, they're going for the FOBs, which, I gotta say, is a decision I don't entirely understand. I'd say just keep pushing. Keep going. You might want to capture that FOB to repair any of these units should they get damaged. And the real prize is not the FOBs, the real prize is the command vehicle. That, I believe, was here or there. Unfortunately, the ACAV is taking its sweet time to catch up. And the helicopter might be the better option. We do have... oh, we got a helicopter on the ground. Now, helicopters on the ground, of course, keep in mind that these things are not entirely harmless, as they can still fire. And airborne helicopters are much, much more of a threat. Immediately taking out the AGS, the M1A2 is now in full reverse, as they have to wait to the Chaparral to catch up to them before they're going to be able to engage that helicopter. Now, in a situation like this, I'd say if you are in command of the EHS, take out the reconnaissance units, take out the ACAV, because that means that the Abrams suddenly becomes a little bit less threatening. Because these things only have medium optics of them, themselves, so they're not that dangerous, at least not optics-wise. Unfortunately, talking of optics, there goes the Kiowa. So now we're down to 1 Chaparral, 1 tank and 1 support tank, or cavalry tank. And that's all. Red has also managed to recapture Alpha. And as such, they're no longer getting a +5, they're down to a +3. Which for Blue 4 is still a nice amount of income. And if they can keep that up, then they should be bagging this game very, very quickly. The T-72 M1M trying to get into this zone just before the command section can. And Friendship Baguette is bringing in the heavy tanks at this point. The Challenger 2s are now here, ready to deal damage against anything that happens to present itself as a target. Of course, we still need to be aware of AA units, AT units. AA units all the same. But AT units, as the Challenger does not have a lot of anti-air cover just yet. Fortunately, these Sokols are not armed with anti-tank weapons. And the only thing that they can really do against that Challenger is fire some rocket pods at him. So it's not that serious. Red now down to, blue to a +2, where they had a +5 a couple of moments ago. So they're definitely losing some terrain. Or at least not getting as much. And it seems that Delta, considering that the CV isn't moving, Delta does have a command vehicle or a command infantry unit somewhere inside. And we can find that, that would be a nice kill, as well as regaining that +3 income. And while they are still operating in the enemy spawn, they don't really have that many forces. We still only have the M1A2 and the ACAV. Narrowly avoiding a bombing run there. Chaparral down to 4 out of its 12 missiles, so we might be able to use this fob to resupply this thing. Before somebody else takes it out. Do we have control of this zone yet? Not so much. Challenger 2 just took a hell of a hit there. Down to its last bit of armor. There's Svatava on the right flank. Where's that command infantry? Probably here. If only you had airstrikes. That would have made your life so much easier. Now let's see if they can get this zone under control. That'd be a nice development here. ACAF moving forward to spot. We still have a target nearby. T-72 M1M. The M1A2 is ready for the fight. The T-72 apparently does not have optics on the ACAV. That's interesting. Despite the ACAV firing at it, that's normally enough to give the position away, especially if you're firing a 152mm gun at it. But not so much. This thing just did not get detected. Another good kill there on the left flank. Time for the Chaparral to do its business as we have an MI-24 or 2 of them coming in. Chap fires and just went through its last bit of ammunition. So now taking on new missiles from the FOB. Not a moment too soon, because that helicopter might be doing a flanking maneuver and trying to come into the weaker side of the M1A2. If they can get that done, and this tank could go down. Where did you go? M1A2 looking for a target and finding the FOB as a potential target. There's the helicopter. Indeed coming into the weaker area of the M1A2. But it seems to be prioritizing the Chaparral over the M1A2. M1A2 just took a big hit there. Down to 2 hit points. Chaparral fired and hit the helicopter. Did not take it out just yet, as the Chaparral is heavily panicked and as such far less accurate. M1A2 now firing at it with all machine guns, trying to do additional damage. Of course, Mi-24 Whiskies are not that impressed with that, because they have armor. Chaparral now trying to hunt it down, as well as get its ass into cover. Ready to fire, 58% accuracy. Missed. Oh, you're cutting this awfully close. Missed again. Now it's out of ammo. This thing has a transactional hit, just got stunned. We really need this helicopter out of the way. Come on. The M1A2 just getting into range with the machine guns now. That helo got quite unlucky with the HGMs, but he almost managed to kill the M1A2. In the meanwhile, as we were watching that skirmish, Blue 4 has recaptured Kilo. They have captured most of the zones. Not all of them just yet, but they really don't need to. They're at a +4, and with that much income, this match is really not going to last for much longer. Now, as the last nail in the coffin, they're trying to find the command unit that might be hiding here. We still have a couple of Riflemen 90 with their accompanying Humvees getting ready to push onto this town. And there's really nothing that Red can still do. They can call in units from Bravo, which might immediately get taken out by the tank here. And that's really the last thing that they can do. They can do some airstrikes, but the chances of you accidentally hitting a command vehicle are not that good. And the riflemen pushing onto this town, of course running into quite a bit of resistance. And there's the command infantry. Can we kill this thing? Or we're going to run out of time. Now, the Rangers have already taken a lot of damage. Of course the Cobra, yes, there we go. The Cobra takes it out. Delta is once again blue force. And now they have a +5. Anyway, why did I show you this game? Couple reasons. If you have a map that is this big, do not discard this area, because you can get flanked. So make sure you always have some defense for your main spawn. Also, a helicopter rush, while it's annoying, can be defeated. Especially if the enemy is investing quite a few forces there. And by investing so many forces there, they were investing far fewer forces than they were actually needing elsewhere. So make sure that if you have situations like these, where you think, hey, I'm getting pushed hard by a helicopter push, that means that they're weak somewhere else. So don't give up too soon, just keep pushing, find out where the enemy's weak, and keep squeezing them right there. Anyway, that's it for this game. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, and I'll see you soon for more videos.